And welcome to the Temple Wildcat Coaches Show, brought to you by Wings, Pizza, and Things here in Temple. I'm Oliver Stone, here with you for another edition of the Temple Wildcat Coaches Show, and I'm here with Temple Wildcat head coach, Coach Stewart. And Friday, the Wildcats went out and got the W, 45-24 over the Rudder Rangers. But it definitely, the score may seem like it was definitely a hard-fought game. And you know how we were talking, it was going to be kind of an old school feel, a lot of ground and pound. Well, there was some of that. Then you just had a lot of trickery that got thrown at us. Like, I mean, we had a fake field goal. We had a reverse that happened close to the goal line. They scored a touchdown on. They had a hook and ladder. Yeah, I remember that one. Because like that, I can't even remember the route he threw. Then dude came and it was funny how the guy that actually scored that touchdown. I know how we were talking about a little bit how you see a lot of the guys that, wear a lot of, exterior and I ain't gonna lie, I kind of was looking at him on the side. I was like, this dude even play?
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I'm like, oh.
Well, I know this. He won the JV track meet in the 100 meters. I mean,
yeah,
he was the fastest kid on the team.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is we had a call in right there that we were double covered number one and we should have single covered him and we didn't do either one of those things. So it was one of those nights where Murphy's Law kind of, showed up ill prepared. I don't know how that happens, but I'm going to obviously by definition take the blame for that. We're kind of looking at that. We showed up flat. They did a couple of. And again, we catch 3 balls and don't fumble the punt. I mean, we go out there on defense. We go out there on offense. We go 3 and out. Yeah. Right. We punt the ball. They go 3 and out. They punt the ball. We fumble it. They get the ball on the 12-yard line. They score. I mean, it's just, and that's what started the kind of the mishaps, and then we just kind of fumbled around, and I don't know how to explain it. I know it happens at all levels. It doesn't make it okay. I don't know if it bothers me more than it bothers anybody else. What is Clemson thinking right now? And we're not Clemson, don't get me wrong, but I also don't have the best talent in America either. How do they stumble against a team like that? So I don't know what the answer is. I know that I spend an inordinate amount of time talking about it doesn't matter. The other team doesn't matter. If we're going to be what we want to be, we've got to play because of who we are, not who they are. And I guess we just aren't buying into that. I mean, I guess we want to look at because just talking to the kids, they said, which is a bad answer. They said, well, Coach, I think we overlooked them. Well, then you're not listening to you're not buying what I'm saying then. Because I believe with all my heart, if you prepare the way you're supposed to, that can't happen. I realize there's some human nature involved in that, but you prepare like you can, that kind of stuff can't happen. So the concern is not, I don't want anybody to think it's death and damnation. The concern is not whether we can be a decent football team. I think we are a decent football team. I mean, last year we played the second toughest schedule in the state of Texas, and we play the same people this year. And it's not like they're getting worse. So, we played a tough schedule. So to be sitting here at 5-2, I think we've proven that we're a decent football team. That's not the issue I have. And so everybody's like, why are you so bent out of shape over that first half? I'm bent out of shape because we were playing an 0-7 football team. And if you play Waco or you play College Station or you play Bryan or you play any of those kind of that caliber people, you'll be so far behind at halftime it won't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, we were only trailing 10 points against, what was ultimately not one of our strongest football teams in this district. So I had all the confidence in the world that if we just settled down and came out and did our thing, there was no panic in my voice. There was frustration and agitation and, pardon my French, but pissed offness. There was some of that at halftime, but there was no panic like, oh, my gosh, what are we going to do? We'll be down by 40 points if we play like that against some of these guys we're fixing to play.
Very true statement, very true statement. And that was something I kind of noted on when we were doing our post-game show that, you can't come out and sleep against anybody.
No.
Now, and I mentioned that, the other guys we were doing the broadcast with, they weren't even aware of, Syracuse beating Clemson.
Right.
I got the little vroom vroom on the phone. Oh. And I mentioned that, and it's like, each and every week, it's a reason you play the game.
Right.
And, if you don't come out and perform how you want to, anybody on any week can get beat. And
you have to have a decent level of immaturity to overlook somebody in today's football game. There are teams that are just that good that probably – but, again, in what world, in what universe does Syracuse beat Clemson. In what world does some of that things happen? And so I don't really care that we came back. I mean, I do. Obviously, if we'd have ultimately lost that game, you know. But at halftime, everybody was like, "What adjustments you make at halftime?" I told them we're not changing anything. We worked all week long on a game plan. It works.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're gonna do it. You know. And we kind of got fussy at them, and our kids respond to butt chewings for whatever reason. I don't get it, but I guess they're willing to take years off of my life to get them going. But there's just a level of immaturity sometimes that it's just tough to fix in the middle of the season. That's an off-season concern. I mean, some of the stuff we've seen is obviously brought a lot of questions up about how we prepare them from December to August. And it ain't, I mean, what am I going to do in the next 2 days to make these kids more mature than they were? How am I going to make them more emotionally stable than they were? You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to find out what makes them tick. I've spent all weekend long trying to find out kind of what makes them tick and what drives them and where we can excel this program to focus on what makes them go and not why we screw up.
Yeah, and I think another thing to note, I mean, it definitely, I feel like, was a tale of two halves for the most part, and to a point is how, you know, we kind of seemed like we woke up and, okay, we probably, that second half, it seemed like we played Temple Wildcat football compared to the first half. And, you know, another thing I was noting was how, you know, I feel like, you know, y'all have been in these situations before where you may be down and whatnot, and I feel like there was such a difference between the Brian Rudder sideline in that first and second half. It's like as soon as the second half came out, y'all scored,
right.
Then it was just like, oh.
Right, which is exactly what would happen in the first half had we not fumbled the ball around and thrown an interception and missed receivers and missed blocks and missed tackles and fall for seventh grade hook and ladder plays. I mean, you know, it's just if those kind of things in the second half, I think they had 60 yards of total offense or something like that. I mean, it's just like, and that's what should have happened the whole time. You know, that's just gonna we're gonna have to focus on making more plays. We're gonna have to. I mean, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Pre-game, I know we'll get to Waco in a minute, but pre-game, pre-district, pre-season, I voted. You know, they sent all the ballots out to the coaches of how your district's going to finish. I picked the top 4 teams as Temple, Waco, College Station, Bryan. Not in that order, but that's the top 4 teams. Well, guess who we play? Waco, College Station, Bryan. That's our next 3 games. So we're going to play in my opinion, no better than anybody else's. Some people may have voted it differently. But in my opinion, we're going to play the toughest half of this district by far. In fact, we actually split it. We play the easiest teams first, and then we play the toughest 3 teams last. And that may change year to year. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Consol, but in my opinion, and I can go get the deal out. I voted Temple, Waco, College Station, Bryan as the top 4, and so that just happens to be our next 4. So at some point we've got to start putting some drives together and then sets of drives together, which ends up being a quarter, and then quarters together, which ends up being a half, and then a half together, which hopefully at some point we play a full 48 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, I mean, that's another thing to know. I feel like throughout the season, we just haven't played a complete game. There's been strides and there's been quarters, and, you know, I feel like at the end of the day, if we really want to have all cylinders going, we have to come out and play a complete game, especially how you're saying with this tough stretch we got coming up with basically kind of the meat of the district, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you right now, Waco is the most, and we're going to talk about them in a minute, but Waco is the most talented team in our district, in my opinion, bar none. They're electric, they're scary, they run some option stuff, so it's assignment football with great athletes in space, and so, you know, we'll be we've got to fix us, and we've got to go prepare for us, but we have to discontinue our mental and our emotional approach to the game of football if we're going to try to do anything in the playoffs or even make it to the playoffs.
Well, there y'all heard. Y'all heard it right there, Coach Stewart. You know, we got to kind of fix the little things if we want to have some success, and especially with the games we have upcoming. And like we said, we will have the Waco Lions coming at us on Friday. So after the break, me and Coach Stewart are going to get into the test we face with the Waco Lions this week.
The most, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. But Waco is the most talented.
Excuse me. And as we were saying, before the break, we were going to talk about the Waco Lions.
They option stuff. So it's assignment football with great athletes. We'll be. We got for us, but we discontinue our emotional approach to the game of football. Anything in the playoffs, or even make it to the playoffs.
Well, there y'all heard. Y'all heard it. Stewart, you know, we got to kind of fix the little things if we want to have some success, especially with games we like we said we will on Friday. So me and Coach we faced with the Waco Lions this week.
The most, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. But Waco, the most talented.
Excuse me. And as we were saying, we were going to talk about the Waco Lions. We were going to talk.
So it's assignment football with great athletes. We'll be. We got for us, but we discontinue our emotional approach to the anything in the playoffs, or even make it to the playoffs.
Well, there y'all heard. Y'all heard. Stewart, you know, the little things. If we fix the little things with we like we said we will on Friday. So we faced with the Waco
the most
Lions this week.
We're going to talk about them in a minute. Most, and we're going to, but Waco, but talented, most talented.
Excuse me. And as we know about the Waco Lions, we were going to talk about the Waco on the top.
So it's assignment football athletes. We'll be. We got for us. But we just continue our approach to the anything in the playoffs, or the playoffs, or even make it.
Y'all heard. Well, there y'all heard. Stewart, you know, Stewart, the little things. Fix the little things. If we with we like we will say on Friday. We faced with the Waco. We faced with
the most
Waco Lions this week.
We're going to talk about them in Waco, but talented, most talented.
Excuse me. And as we know, excuse me, and about the Waco Lions, we were going to talk about the Waco.
So it's assignment football. So it's football athletes. We'll be. We got but we just discontinue our approach to anything in the playoffs, or even make it or the playoffs.
Well, there y'all heard. Y'all heard. Stewart, you know, Stewart, the little things. Fix the little things. With we said we will on Friday. We faced with the Waco. We faced with
the most
Waco Lions.
The most, and we're going to talk about them in Waco, but talented, most talented.
No, but as we know, excuse me, we were going to talk about the Waco Lions.
It's assignment football, so it's assignment football athletes. We'll be. We got we just discontinue our mode approach to the ball. Anything to play, anything to playoffs, or even make it to the playoffs, or even make it.
Well, there y'all here, Well, there y'all. We do it, you know. We thing fixed a little thing fixed with we said on Friday. With the way we face with Waco Lions.
And we're going to talk about them, but Waco, most talented.
No, but that's excuse me. We were going to talk about the Waco Lions.
So it's assignment football, athletes. We'll be. We got. We just discontinue our mode approach to the ball. Anything to play in playoffs, or even make it, or even make it.
Well, there y'all here, Well, there y'all. We do it, you know. Thing fixed a little thing with we said Friday. Off face with the way we face with the way
the most talk about them. We're going to talk about them, but Waco, most talented.
No, well, excuse me. Well, that's what we were talking about the Waco Lions. We were talking about
either. It's assignment football, so it's assignment athletes. We'll be. We got. We just discontinue our mode approach to anything in playoffs, anything to play, or even make it.
There, Well, there y'all here, We do it, you know. Things fixed a little with we said on Friday. We face with the way we face the way
the most talk about Waco, but most talented.
Well, excuse me. Well, that's excuse Waco Lions. We were talking about the Waco Lions. About
either. It's assignment football, so it's assignment athletes. We'll be. We got. We just discontinue our mode approach. Anything in playoffs, anything to play, or even make it, or play, or even make.
Well, there y'all here, Do it, you know. Fixed a little things And Oliver Stone back here with the Temple Wildcat Coaches Show, brought to you by Wings, Pizza, and Things in Temple. And I'm back with one of the offensive gurus for the Temple Wildcats. I got Coach Sattler here with me. And congrats on the win, 45-24.
Thank you.
Now, I know, like I was telling Coach Stewart, that was almost like, tale of two halves, kind of the way that game went. It seemed like we came out kind of flat. We had some big drops, slight overthrows,
Right.
But I mean, we ended up coming out that second half with some fire and offense, defense, everything got rolling, and we went ahead and handled our business. So I feel like, with Coach Stewart, we were talking about, we're still kind of waiting to see that complete game.
Right.
I feel like we've had quarters, we've had halves, but obviously going forward with, kind of some of the you could say like the top guns in the district, really where you're getting some good competition.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's not going to be, I don't think we're going to see anything else, probably any kind of lopsided at all now. I feel like it's going to be pretty tight going through.
We have to play our best football in the next 3 weeks, or next 3 games, and the only one we're really focused on right now is Waco.
Yeah, one at a time. One at a time.
We've got to focus on them and focus on what they present. We're not worried about anybody else at this point in time. We don't care about who's next on the schedule. I don't even know who's next on the schedule. It's just we're worried about those dudes down the road and trying to take care of them. They're a good football team.
And that was another thing me and Coach Stewart were talking about. How I feel like, you have the Temple community here tries to look at the Temple Belton as a rivalry, but I feel like Waco Temple is far more of, you could be considered more of a rivalry than, what you could see with that.
In town it's not.
Yeah.
But when you talk to kids and you talk to other people, like, Coach Cavill on our staff is from Waco High.
Oh, wow.
So he talks a lot about their quote unquote hatred for Temple and all that. And it's a rivalry to them, whether, folks here in Temple see it, for them it is a rivalry. It's a big thing for them, and they're going to come to our place on Friday night, and they're going to try to do something they hadn't done to us in a while, and that's put an L on us. And the good thing is we've got a game plan too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly, and I feel as if all I've heard about this group is just the athletes and the size. I feel like another thing with Coach Stewart we're talking about, the you can see these guys at track meets and they're winning all the track meets. Right. You go see these guys at powerlifting meets. They're out lifting everybody.
Right. They're very athletic. They're very fast. One of the fastest defenses I've seen. They fly to the football and they do it, with a kind of mean mentality. They're very strong, very big. They can roll packages in. They got enough kids, up front where they can go to a speed package, they can go to a big package. They're a very talented football team.
Oh yes, like I was saying, it sounds like we got us. A good task at hand, and for what we saw last week, I was hearing, Coach Stewart was saying, just some of that, immaturity in the group was kind of branching out again. Saying that you got kids worried about other things and outside things, rather than just being focused at the task at hand.
Yeah, and you don't always know what's going on in a kid's life, at home or whatever like that. We see them for a limited amount of time during the day, and we try to get them to play perfect football, which is almost impossible. And so it's a difficult task, and we have to take it week to week and day to day with our kids, and and just try to find those things that make them click. And we found it at halftime, and it was a good thing we found it against Rudder at halftime.
Yeah.
They played an excellent football game. I can't take anything away from them. They played the game of the season for them, that we've seen, on film from them, and we didn't do anything to help our cause either. Yeah. We came out flat. Like you said, we dropped some footballs. We missed some protections up front. We didn't do anything to help ourselves. Right now, for us, it's consistency. It's about going out and being consistent, play after play after play after play, and that's what we're preaching this week. It's taking it one day at a time, taking it one play at a time, and being consistent.
I feel like that's all you can ask, and I feel as if. Yeah, Rudder, they played probably one of their better games of the season, but I feel like it was more of us hurting ourselves than them just, dominating us.
Right, they didn't dominate us, but again, I don't want to take anything away from their kids.
Oh, yeah.
They played a great game. They played as hard as they could. I do feel like we didn't come out and give it our necessarily best effort in the first half, But again, we shot ourselves in the foot. We gotta look at what we did in that first half, and we've got to make sure that we start getting as consistent as we were in the second half for 4 quarters. You said it earlier. We got to play 4 quarters of football, and as we get to these better teams in our schedule, we're gonna have to play 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And the kids know it, and the coaches know it. So it's a sense of urgency on our part right now to get that mopped up and cleaned up, and that's why we're taking this week is it's one day at a time, one snap at a time. We have to be as consistent as we can on every single snap during practice.
I feel like that's all it is. You really, like I said, we take it one week at a time, one snap at a time. kind of the, I remember back when I was in high school, my coach used to always say, 7 seconds, bam.
Yeah. That's it.
That's all it is. I mean, so I feel as if, like I said, it's time to grow up, though,
Yeah.
I feel like, we got to come out. And also, another thing you saying, who knows what kids may have going on at home. I always feel like football is kind of an outlet. Say if you do got some not the best situation at home, I feel like this is an outlet where you can just let it go.
It is, and it's just one of the things you deal with when you coach 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. You're going to deal with it, and that's what makes our job fun, because we have to be psychiatrists at times, and we have to do those things, and it makes it tough, but again, that's what makes our job fun for us. Trying to solve a problem. It's always a big problem, and we're always trying to solve it. So, and
I feel like that's just another sign of like fulfillment of you as a coach. You coach these guys up, and they handle their business and go out and say they're gonna have a great game. I feel like, and I know when I was playing, that's always my thing. I feel like there's a connection you have with your coaches, especially maybe your position coaches or whoever that you just for the rest of your life. It's always gonna be that fulfillment. I feel like that has to be one of the better things as a coach, when you kind of see your players develop and come through, and then after they leave and go on to do bigger and better things. I feel like that has to just be the ultimate feeling of like, hey,
Absolutely. We tell our kids all the time, football's football. It's a game, and we play it until, at some point in time it's going to end for everybody. But the big thing for us as coaches, is to help these young men become grown men, and to make sure that they're good husbands, fathers, and community members, and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. When they come back with their wives and their kids, and you see that they're successful, that means so much more to me than having a kid that may be in the pros. Mm-hmm. If they get to play football beyond, that's awesome. But if they become good family men, and that's the most important thing for us. So.
Exactly. But hey, y'all heard we got a test with the Waco Lions coming down, and the game will be going on at 7:30 p.m. kickoff. But if you can't come to Wildcat Stadium, you can catch the K-Rock 1017 broadcast with the pregame show starting at 7 o'clock p.m. and kickoff at 7:30 p.m. And also, if you need a K-Rock 1017 Temple Wildcat shirt to come blue out Wildcat Stadium, come catch us at Wings, Pizza, and Things in Temple, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, where we'll be eating and giving out shirts. But hey, good luck this week, Coach.
Go Wildcats.
Yes, sir.